Howdy, this is Coach Kev here with a brand new explanation, description, and a walkthrough of the new workout programs. So for this time around, really taking a departure from the norm and going towards this concept called a circuit. What is a circuit? A circuit is a set of exercises done in a format with very little rest between, but usually a longer period of rest after the set of exercises is complete. And so without further ado, I'm going to walk you through kind of a blank template, what that looks like, and then different versions of the workouts, depending on if you're doing a total body circuit or if you're doing a upper body circuit, or even if you're doing a body part. So like chest and shoulders, or shoulders only, or back and lats, or depending on what you're doing. So let's go through it. So first, what you'll notice here is we got basically I'm going to categorize it by movement pattern. The reason I'm categorizing it by movement patterns is simple. For me, I like to check boxes. The boxes that I like to check off, I think I should probably put that in a separate screen. But in this one, what I'll do, I'll just type them up. Usually, if this is a total body routine, I'm going to go a bilateral quad. I'm going to go unilateral vertical push. I'm going to go unilateral quad. Okay, I'm going to go bilateral vertical pull, because remember, this is a total body routine. I'm going to go core, or no, I'm not going to do core on this one. I'll go back to bilateral quad. And then last but certainly not least, on these two, I'm going to go auxiliary. I'll explain what that means. Auxiliary pull. Okay. And then for A7, this is where we do what I call almost like a finisher, but for the circuit. So in this instance, we're usually going to do a high rep bilateral quad. Okay. And high rep. Okay. So I'll actually take you through it. I'll show you how I make the individual workout. So for the bilateral quad, let's just call it either a squat pattern. In this instance, let's go back squat. Okay, just made someone do this exercise the other day. Unilateral vertical push. So shoulder press, one arm. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to go with a little bit more advanced movement, but we're going to go bottoms up kettlebell press. Unilateral quad, a lot of options here. I'm going to go with something that's a little harder. So we're going to go a pistol squat with a TRX just to maintain balance as soon as fatigue happens, because it's going to happen. And then you have reps on both sides. The vertical pull. This is going to be a pull down, not a chin up, because that's later in the circuit. So we're going to anticipate some fatigue. Not a good time for a chin up. So we're going to do a pull down, okay? And bilateral quad, we're going to go back to a goblet squat, okay? And then an auxiliary pull. This is a good place for a face pull or a pull over. I'm going to put a face pull here. Okay, and then bilateral quad, kind of simple, but in this instance, we're going to do a jump squats. You can do it with the TRX, you can do a prisoner squat, however you want. And basically what you're going to do is between all these exercises, you're going to do between 8 and 12 reps. Okay, so there's your format, and that's just using these movement patterns helps me communicate not just the value of the checking off the boxes, but for trainers to help them see that it's not always sagittal plane, meaning forward and back, but sometimes a frontal plane movement pattern that the client needs. So that's why we're going to kind of vary the usefulness of the exercise arrangement. Now, let's go to some of the ones that are already made. Okay, let me just delete these. Okay, now, let's see. Keep going. All right, I called it Rovember. It doesn't have to be, but and so what I did here is just I put the movement patterns in already. So in this instance, we're going to do a bilateral hip. All right. So, and by the way, there's 3 of them. These are all total body. See how they're all different? Okay. So we have a bilateral hip. We have a deadlift. So technically a bilateral hip, although the deadlift could be single leg. And then we have a squat pattern as the first one. This is the most like the first one I already made. So I guess that one's freshest in my mind. But let's go over it. So a bilateral hip. This one can be an RDL, okay, Romanian deadlift. You're not going all the way to the ground. 45-degree pull. So this is a half kneeling pull down. We can do two hands in this instance because now we're going to unilateral hip. So there's a lot of things you can do here. We can do, let's say, a cross under lunge. Okay, 45-degree push. So this is an incline bench. And see how this kind of makes it simple when you put in the movement pattern, and it even makes it simpler when you take into consideration the fact that if you have somebody with injuries, you can start to still check off your movement patterns, but instead of, let's say, a 45-degree push with a barbell on an incline bench, maybe you're doing a squeeze press because they're going to have less internal rotation, less range of motion, and less likely to bother the shoulder. But you're still checking off that movement pattern. That's where the real benefit of this stuff comes in. Unilateral quad, you can go with a kind of a medium height step up, so maybe a dumbbell step up. Okay, and in this instance, let's delineate that it's a lateral step up. Auxiliary pull. Before we talked about the face pull and the pull over, so this is where I'd probably say let's do a kettlebell pull over, okay? And then a high rep hip. Let's keep it the theme here. Let's do a pull through, okay? So pull, pull, pull. A lot of pulls there, both from the working your back, but also from the RDLs. So awesome opportunity there to, and actually I think I like this workout. This variation in this format. So again, these 8 to 12 for your first 6 exercises, and then 15 to 20 on your last. So let's just say it's that one. Maybe I'll just leave that one. And then the deadlift, okay, going to the workout B. The deadlift, we already did a Romanian deadlift, so this is where we could do a sumo. Because it's earlier in the workout, we're going to do a chin up, okay, a unilateral hip. So a lot of things you can do here. You could do, in this instance, I think we'll do a foot elevated reverse lunge. Okay, so foot elevated means that the front foot is, both feet are elevated, and then you're going to take a step back off and then back up. Horizontal pull unilateral. So we're going to go, and this is a little bit more back work here. This is where we're going to do a one-arm dumbbell row. We already did a cable exercise the other day, so this is where we're going to go a dumbbell row, but we can go from a free stance. So there's no hanging on with the other hand. Okay, so that really changes the dynamic of that motion. Unilateral hip. So you saw what we did with the crossover step up. The lateral step up. We did, let's see, can't remember. We did a pull through and a cross under lunge. So unilateral hip, if we wanted here, we go crossover, step up. Okay, now we got a very different hip action there. Auxiliary pull. Again, I go back. There's a lot of ways that you can get the back here. I'm going to do a reverse. Actually, no. I'll do a TRX Y raise. Okay, those are hard. 8 to 12 should be plenty. Then a high rep hip. Let's go a two-hand kettlebell swing. Okay, so that's again at 15 to 20. So you really start to see, and this is one circuit, by the way. If somebody gets through more than one circuit, if they get through more than 4 rounds of this circuit and are ready for more than the weights they're using are too light. So kind of simple there. Rovember Shred C. And somebody asked the other day, why would you give away all your workouts? First of all, they're not mine. Second of all, the arrangement per person is where let's say I'm a chef and you tell me what your palate likes. Now I know what to cook for you. Similar, that's the arrangement. You might try to put all these together and it might taste a little funny because the exercises don't match and you're like, this wasn't a great workout. But if I put it together for you, that's a difference maker. So I'm not really worried about you stealing or anything like that because that's not how this works. Okay, so going backwards, let's talk about this workout. So this one I made the other day too. We're going to go with Zercher squat. Zercher is funny because it is a squat pattern, but it kind of reminds me of a sumo deadlift because of the amount of knees pushing out at the bottom. We're going to go one-arm press here. So I'm going to do something different. We're going to go a one-arm Arnold press, okay? And actually, we're going to alternating. So I'm going to still count that as one arm. Unilateral squat. How do you do a unilateral squat or a squat pattern when we already did a pistol? In this instance, we're going rear foot elevated, okay? So this is very different than a front foot elevated. Rear foot elevated, foot's elevated behind you, okay? The front foot elevated is when you're doing that reverse lunge, okay? Two-hand press. So we're going to go backwards and do a squeeze floor press. The reason the squeeze floor press is cool They're simple. The squeeze floor press allows you to get in and out with potentially heavier weight, and it's pretty quick. So if you're in a rush and you can't find a bench at a busy gym, and you're like, let me just get this out of the way. Squeeze floor press will be great. Another unilateral squat. I'm not sure if that was a typo or not, but the unilateral squat is still fun. So what we're going to do here is what's called a lateral split squat. Kind of come to love these lately for a couple of reasons. Number one, it ends up being less of a split squat and more of a split like lateral or sumo deadlift. So you're pushing really high with the hips as opposed to lower as a squat. But second reason is it's frontal plane. So we're working side to side as opposed to forward and back. So a lot of people like that it opens up their hips and they feel good after doing a couple sets. Auxiliary push. So simply here, what we're going to look out for is anything like a fly. Okay, so in this instance, we kind of been back and forth between the presses. We're going to do an incline cable fly. Okay, and then we're going to do a high rep quad finisher. So we're going to do a clean to a front squat finisher. Okay, so you're going to basically be doing 10 cleans, which turns into 10 front squats. So it's technically 20 reps total. So that's it, guys. Look, I hope this is helpful. I hope that you can see the patterning of the 3 workouts. It's actually harder to make workouts like this that balance out than it is to, let's say, make this last one, which is this is an upper body push. So you'll see it's vertical push, vertical push, vertical put. It's easier to do the other ones than it is to this because you have a lot. You're usually not going to be putting exercises that could potentially be competing against one another. But if you're doing all one movement pattern for the day, then it becomes harder and harder because you can't do a barbell bench press, dumbbell bench press, barbell incline, dumbbell incline in a circuit. It was just, you'd go nuts. So you have to find things that are that complement the difficulty of the other. So if something's easier on the triceps, then you'll do that one paired with the next one that's harder on the triceps, but easier on the chest. And so you kind of flip-flop back and forth. And it's really a careful arrangement. So yeah, that's it. But I hope this is helpful. Please let me know at any point if I can help with programming. If you're a structure client, be prepared for these. These are going to be fun. The core is either going to be at the beginning or the end of your workout. And the circuits are going to be certainly in the middle / beginning. Probably not at the end because you're going to be fried. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys. So have a good rest of your day.